Give me 1 second, Louise. Okay, hello. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a very special guest, Evelyn Jones, and we are going to be discussing some very exciting things happening in California and many adventures that Evelyn has been on.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't already, make sure to check out our social medias at 180 Shift. So how are you, Tara?
I am doing fantastic. I'm so happy to be here. And man, we have a wonderful show planned today with Evelyn. Could you just give yourself a quick introduction?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you young ladies that have been also on a journey in helping President Trump. And that has been my journey for the last, 6 years to help President Trump. And I'm a delegate, national delegate for President Trump as well in 2024. And I also did a lot of fundraising for him, as well as getting volunteers to become Trump captains, to make calls, pretty much help the campaign at many different levels.
That is so fantastic. We are so excited to jump in to some of your adventures today. But first,
I'm going to get my boba.
We have boba. Complimentary of 180 Shift. Mine is pink. I'm very happy about that. Mm-hmm. So yes. How are you doing, Ellie?
Good.
Yes, I know. Mid boba. Words not working.
It's okay.
Yes.
No, very low sleep. Did a lot of stuff. Had to crunch some schoolwork. Had a statistics exam once again today. The worst experience ever because a fire alarm went in, cut our time short, and I still had to do the exam in less time. Not fun. Stress, high stress. But it's okay because we're here today and we're going to talk to another wonderful guest. So, Evelyn, why don't you just tell us first why you got into politics, why you got involved, what motivates you?
What motivates me is to help people, but the other is injustices. So I felt like President Trump was being treated terribly by Adam Schiff. And I think that was one of my first events that I ever went to, and it was a town hall meeting that Adam Schiff was having, and we were protesting that he was impeaching President Trump.
Wow.
And after that, it's history.
Did you support President Trump from the very beginning back in 2016?
Yes.
Okay. And tell us what sparked your interest in President Trump. Was it his policies, maybe how he talked, the way he carried himself? What was it?
I love that he gets things done. And I was a Apprentice fan. I don't know if you guys remember that show, The Apprentice.
I don't think
But he used to have a show, and it was like a very competitive show. And I always wanted to be on the show because it was like, working for him, and he will give you projects, and you will just stand out, and whoever did the best will get to be the apprentice. So the first time I met President Trump, I said, what am I going to tell him? What am I going to tell him? And I said, well, I always wanted to be an apprentice. So when I met him, I said, President Trump, I always wanted to be your apprentice. And I'm here in California, and I'm helping the campaign. So then he looks at me and says, what have you been doing? So I was a fan.
Yeah.
Because I saw that he can get things done. He's a multitasker. I'm a multitasker myself. I love to deal with different projects and do different things. So that is why.
Yeah. So I'm hearing you really like his business side that he brings in.
Oh, yes.
That's very interesting because I think today a lot of people are very negative towards him because of that. So it's so interesting to see how there's always two sides of how people think about President Trump and how he carries himself. So that's really cool to hear. You worked on his campaign. What are some other things that you've done with him?
I pretty much helped in every aspect. So I would say fundraising was the most challenging one because, it's trying to get individuals to donate to the campaign.
Yeah.
And I would always say President Trump's campaign is a campaign of love. A lot of people who donated were first-time donors. And they were not people that normally donate that much money. So $1,000 was, kind of big money for some people.
Right.
5,000, and then we got those that donated $50,000 or $100,000. So each person had a story on why they were donating. So I love meeting so many individuals that gave out their heart to help President Trump. So I call it a campaign of love. And then those that perhaps they couldn't donate the money, but they would make calls. They helped at the Coachella rally. The Coachella rally was amazing. It was so hot, but everybody was there, to support him. And we were happy that he was coming to California because I would always say, "Are we going to have anything in California?" No. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm like, oh my gosh, people in California want a rally too, right? And then when I would say, "Are we going to have a fundraiser in Northern California?" Because people would ask me, "Oh no, I don't think." And then all of a sudden we have a fundraiser in San Francisco. And by David Sachs. And David, as a business person too, I'm a business person. I have a business degree and I ran a business before. David Sachs, Elon Musk, all of them business people. And they started coming to the right side, right? And all of a sudden we have a fundraiser in San Francisco. And I think it was one of the best experiences, that could have happened because people came out from hiding in San Francisco. And one of the things that we did was the fundraiser was pretty an expensive one. It was like $50,000. So I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to find somebody to donate the $50,000? And I got somebody who donated the $100,000. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go to the fundraiser. But it was sold out. So I said, how can we be part of the fundraiser? So I decided to call a few of my friends and people that I know up north. And I said, President Trump is coming. Why don't we show him support? And we did a caravan. And people started caravanning from different neighboring cities to the marina, to San Francisco. And because there was no activity in that area, the media went wild. They wanted to cover it. And, we wrote, my son Matthew wrote an article about our adventure and welcoming President Trump, and we sent it out. Then the more media started coming, people got on Fox. I would say that event ignited San Francisco. And when I met David Sachs, I told him that it was us out there, the people who caravan from all over, to show President Trump that, we love him.
Absolutely. What year was that?
Last year.
Wow. Oh my goodness! Wow.
It was last year. It was right after he got indicted. You know that.
Yes.
And San Francisco was welcoming him with a rubber ducky. Thank God the ducky deflated. But instead, what happened was that President Trump came to see a San Francisco that was welcoming him. So I saw him the next day, and I said, President Trump, how did you like a welcome in San Francisco? And he said, I felt the love.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Yeah. When was the first time that you actually met Donald Trump, and how did you feel leading up to that?
It was the one time that I told him that I was the apprentice, that I wanted to be an apprentice. And I was super excited,
Was that like 2016?
No, I met him 2023.
Wow.
Oh, wow. So this is very recent. Yes. Okay, I'm putting it together in my head now.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I had been to a rally,
Yes.
but I hadn't shaked his hand. I hadn't had a conversation with him.
Yes.
So it was 2023 that I got to have a conversation with him, and roundtables as well. I was in Mar-a-Lago, and it was my birthday.
Wow.
Okay. And I had the honor to be at a roundtable with him. And one of the things that I told him was that, I use my gifts because I used to work for Fortune 500 company, and one of the things that we did was go out and meet with clients. So I used the same techniques that I did with my business to meet with people that supported him. And I would say, oh, she will be good at fundraising, or he will be good at fundraising, or perhaps you can make calls. You just have to get to know the supporters so that you know how they can help the campaign.
Right. I think that there's always a place. Once you find out what somebody's good at, you're able to analyze and say, okay, they have these skills that would be perfect in that place. So that's amazing that you're able to be able to see that and then sort of like manage all of that. That's really awesome. Yeah. What were some what were some of your favorite events? And I'd probably want to ask this too as another question, but leading up to the election, how was that? How was that atmosphere? Was everybody very confident that he was going to win, or how's everybody feeling?
Okay, like for me, I was super confident. And because I always would ask people at the supermarket, are you happy with our current leadership, or are you struggling? Did you have more money back when President Trump was in office or now? And I would say a lot of people would say, oh no, things are really bad. Everything is more expensive. We don't have that many jobs. So I felt like President Trump had a great economy the time that he was in office, and COVID did come and ruined a lot of that. But I think that he, again, will be able to bring our economy to even a better level. Because I would say that President Trump is the builder, okay? His gift is to build. And he would always say, I can build on time and under budget, okay? And that's what we need. And that's why we have Doge, right? We know we have Elon Musk. We have other business people that are looking at how we can better be more efficient in our country. How can we uncover the fraud, right? How can we drain the swamp? How can we protect taxpayers? And how can we stop the steal, right? Because money is being stolen from so many different programs. So I think that President Trump will be able to build our country. Our infrastructure is terrible. Like if you come to LA, the freeways are not good. Our bridges are not good. We need to do more. And that's where I think President Trump will shine even more. And thank you to Elon Musk, for being our hero, right? Because he's the one that has been uncovering, and that's his gift, to be able to do things electronically, and that's not something that I'm good at, or a lot of people, but that's his gift, and he's using that to help our country.
I will say that was one of our missions of going to the inauguration in January.
Me too.
Was, yes, exactly that. And, it was funny. We were like sometimes the youngest people in the room of like hundreds of people at these inaugural balls. But we would go up to people and say, look, we're from Los Angeles. We're from California. And, what's being done? What's being done now? Like, we all know that California has, if it was its own country, it would be the 5th largest economy in the entire world. Like, we cannot write off California. It's beautiful. You have the beach. You have the mountain. You can go to the snow up in the mountains and the beach all in one weekend. I mean, it's paradise. It really is. You have the best food is here. Everyone knows it. I mean, this is and it's more spread out than New York. And it's like, I love California. And that was something, we had so many great conversations at different inaugural events, January 20th and that weekend. And it was always just about, okay, what are you going to do for California? And what do you know? Like, what are you doing? Like, how can we be activated? And speaking of the inauguration, getting out there we had to do a little bit of fundraising ourselves. And one person I really wanted to just shout out was Mr. Reader, because he gave 180 Shift and us here in our ministry a generous donation. And we got out there partially because of him and just different people chipping in, just like how Trump made it to California. We had a smaller scale trip of 180 Shift getting to DC, but making that 180 impact. And our prayer was really just giving hope to the older politicians, which I believe that we absolutely did, but also trying to get people activated and excited about Los Angeles and the conservatives that are here and come on, we're leading the culture in so many different ways, even internationally.
Yes.
So, yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? There was an interesting reaction that we got from the inauguration, because we did get some people, and I won't name who, but you can see some of our videos. We have interviews. But there's some people who absolutely gave up on California. They're saying, leave California.
You're talking about Michael Knowles.
Maybe. We're talking about Daily Wire, maybe. I don't know.
We're not going to Tennessee.
No. What do you say to people? Because I know you meet a lot of different people from all over. What do you say to them when you say, California is important too? What do you tell them?
California is the most important. I mean, I think that we helped President Trump a lot with the popular vote, because there's so many people here. And compared to the previous election before, we had a higher percentage of people voting for him. So I think that people that say move out or give up on your state, they don't know what they're talking about. We are, we're fighters,
right?
And we're not going to ever give up. So I know that you girls went to the Hispanic inaugural ball, and that is so a gift from Bienvenidos.
Thank you.
The Hispanic Inaugural Ball Committee. Wow, it's a Trump coin. That's awesome. I'm going to show my friends that.
Anyone who knows me is I love challenge coins so much. So thank you so much,
Thank
Evelyn.
you.
That's so sweet. No, I think that the Hispanic inaugural ball was amazing. It was amazing, and I know you helped tremendously to put that together.
It was beautiful.
It was so awesome to see so many Latinos coming together for something that you don't see very often.
And the music was great.
Oh, it was very amazing. I know. And it was so cool because I think it was, I think it was our first time being on like a red carpet sort of atmosphere and being able to give interviews. So that was really cool.
And then we got interviewed.
Yes, we got interviewed too.
Yeah, we were like, we're doing interviews.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And I just, oh my goodness, I forgot something. Tara, help me out.
I'm tired too.
Remember what I was trying to say.
Well, I am happy you guys were there. And, one of the things, that I told Bienvenidos is like, we need to give the younger generation a chance to witness history. So I know that it was exciting for you both. Matthew also attended. My friend from Oklahoma, Katie, also did photography. So I brought in 4 new, I would say not new, but very young.
Gen Zers.
Well, no, I think that, what is before Gen Z?
Millennial.
Okay, I think that Katie will be a millennial.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but she did amazing photography. So if you're watching, Katie from Oklahoma, thank you for those amazing pictures. She took beautiful pictures of RFK Jr. And I made the connection so that Bienvenidos could invite him. So I was really excited, to have him there, and shout to him to make America healthy again. And what he's doing is also tremendous effort, because we really need that.
Yeah. Now, since I do remember what I was going to say, but it was about the Latinos, because I think it's very interesting that we saw an uprise in Latinos, specifically, I would say more men, that were supporting Trump in this last election. Why do you think that was? Why do you think Latinos are now shifting towards more of conservatism? Well,
Latinas are for God, we're for family, traditional values. We're looking for opportunities for growth, entrepreneurs, business-minded people. I mean, people that come to the United States came here because of opportunity. So, we want to continue to be better. At least, that's how I feel. I mean, I came here at 7.5 years old.
Wow.
I was not born here. But this is all I know, and this is all I love. And one of the things that always inspired me was to be better. I always, wanted to live in a better neighborhood, have a little. I mean, I started at 27 when I bought my first home. It was a little home, small, but then I wanted something bigger and a little bigger because, I wanted I wanted the American dream. And I think that the American dream on that specific picture right now that you're seeing, here is a girl that came from El Salvador at 7.5 years old, sitting down at a round table with all these millionaires and President Trump.
Yeah.
You didn't see that many Hispanics sitting at the round tables. And it was a grand opportunity to meet a lot of wonderful people that love President Trump, to hear him, to have conversations with him, to see the men to just sit down and kind of like breathe and say, yes, what they're doing to me, I cannot believe it. And I really want the Hispanic vote. And, as I was leaving, he stops me and he says, tell your Hispanic friends, I say hello. Because I would always make a point at every roundtable or opportunity to talk about the Hispanic vote because it was very important. And as you can see, we helped them.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
You did.
Now, something that that a lot of people say to Hispanics that are supporting Trump is like, why are you supporting somebody who's taking, or I wouldn't say taking advantage of, but hurting your people, they would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Immigrants, because he is deporting people. So what would your response be to somebody who is saying that Trump is a bad person because he's doing that? Is that something that you support?
Well, I think that President Trump loves our country, and when you love your family or you love your community, you want to protect your community. So what President Trump did was he wanted to make sure that our borders were safe, and he's cleaning the border. He's making sure that we have security, that no one's coming in without us knowing who they are. And I think that we had over 180 nationalities of people coming in through the border illegally. And, people were able to find out passports, once they, when they have to pass different borders, they pass the border of Guatemala or Mexico, and they had a passport to show that, they were traveling. They had to show it. But once they come to our border, they have to leave it behind, and they drop it. Because a lot of the times, let's say, they were coming from, let's say somebody was coming from Chile. You don't want to say if the immigration gets you're from Chile, because they'll send you to Chile. So if you say that you're Mexican and by you're lying, you can lie and say, oh, I'm from Mexico. And you're like closer to trying again, right?
Yeah.
Because the whole trying to cross the border is very expensive. The further you're coming from, the more they'll charge you. So let's say you're coming from Mexico. It could be, $6,000 to $10,000. But if you're coming from Chile, it might be $12,000 because you're further away, right? If you come from China, it might even be more because people go from China to Mexico and then they start, migrating. And that's when they need the coyotes. And that's when they charge them the money. So I say that for right now, President Trump will be known as the president that closed and protected our borders by history. Okay? By closing the borders, that means that we have less crime. We also have less fentanyl deaths because of fentanyl and all those drugs were coming through the border. The other thing that we have is less human trafficking because we know that human trafficking is real and kids are being sold. Kids are being trafficked for labor and sex, which is really, really, when I found out about that, it really, really broke my heart. Yep. To know that, why is it that humans do that? I don't understand it, and I don't even want to think about it. But when I saw the movie Sound of Freedom, I think a lot of people finally realize that it's sickening and it's real.
Mm-hmm. And to people in my own family even who say that taking in illegal immigrants is a humane act, my response is there's nothing humane about it. What Evelyn is talking about is the reality of the situation. And I've known people. I mean, part of my testimony is I was hanging out with a lot of people who were not being good people. And, to be on the other side of that now and to be recovered and saved by Christ, I have a perspective on it where I'm just like, the evil of all the stuff that a lot of illegal immigrants were bringing into our communities, it's just pure evil. There's nothing good about it. There's nothing humane about it. I mean, it's awful. Would you let a homeless man in your house if he's a rapist? No, Yes. And I totally agree with you on that. And I think right now California has a lot of damage because of this.
Yes. And
we're just like, what do we do? Like with the fentanyl crisis.
The fentanyl crisis is huge, right? And again, clarification. We're not saying that everyone that crossed the border is a criminal or a bad person or whatever. I know a lot of people come because they want a better life, okay? And I think that it's a very difficult situation, especially with what's happening in Venezuela, the communism. People want to come because they don't like communism, right? Mm-hmm. Because, over there, you're not going to get a drink like this, okay? You're going to get like a little something like this for the whole day. Or like you'll get like an apple a day. And there's so many times that we see apples. I'm like, oh no, I don't want an apple. People will love to eat an apple in Cuba, okay? People are hungry. They give them portions. So, what we need to tell all of these people that are like protesting, go live in Cuba. Go stay there for like 30 days. Go stay in Venezuela for 30 days. Because the people that are leaving Venezuela or they're leaving Cuba, they're doing it by risking their lives because it's so terrible. There's no jobs. There's nothing. Their infrastructure is crumbling. There's nothing. So I think that we need to like paint a picture of the reality that communism will basically take away everything from us. Forget drinking a boba. Forget going to get a pizza. We're all going to be like, pretty much the fact that we got President Trump in saved us from socialism, which will end up being communism.
Yeah, actually just this Easter, so just a few days ago, one of my tios came over and he was, I'm not going to mention you, I'm just kidding. But he was telling me, so I was talking about how currently going to community college, and currently because I meet certain criteria, I don't have to pay for college right now. I'm getting a lot of federal funding. And he said, you know why that is? Because we're paying for it. And you know why? Because of socialism. This is socialism. That's why we should have all college free. And I was like, no, that's not how it works. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it is very dangerous. The people believe socialism will be able to fix the problems that we have. But the thing is that they need to go live in those places that do have socialism and say, this is what's happening. But then they come back at you and say, but that isn't real socialism.
So wait, your uncle was saying that because you go to college, you're benefiting off of socialism?
Well, yes. Because I get the federal funding for college, I'm benefiting off of socialism.
Yeah, and you're also getting the nanny state that comes with it. Like she was saying, you don't get choice, you don't get the freedom that capitalism brings. You get told exactly what you need to do in order to graduate. And,
well, yes, yeah.
Yeah, and then that's how they slip their propaganda in.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a trade-off. It's not just free.
It isn't just free,
They're getting something out of you, too.
Yeah. It's a return investment. Well, I think it might be like a return investment, really.
But no, people say that to me, too. Like, oh, you've benefited off of, like, Medi-Cal. So, I had my first baby on Medi-Cal. So it's like, oh, so now you support socialism, right? And
Well, I think that some programs are there to help temporary.
Yeah.
It's not a way of living, right? So what you want to do is, if someone's struggling, yes, we need to help them and get them services. But as you can see right now with the homeless fraud that they're trying to uncover, a lot of the people that are homeless have not been getting those benefits.
Right.
So they have not been able to get off the streets.
oh my goodness,
Right?
there's a whole new example of that actually. This is just a quick tangent, but the recent fires in Altadena, I haven't even seen this in the news yet. But the fraud around FEMA. People are calling up because they're like trying to get the money out so quickly for those who lost houses and rent places that they were renting out and stuff. People have been calling and saying, my address burnt down. They just give an address and then they say, I need the money. And like, there's very little verification in that. And they just send the money. And I have a friend whose father owned a property over there. And he was saying that when he called to get the FEMA money, it had already that property had been reported several times already, and like there had already been payouts. So there's the other that's emergency money that is entitled to those who lost houses in the Eaton fire, and so that there's another example of how just. That was a tangent.
Well, talk to us about why you support Doge so much.
Oh, well, that is one of the reasons that I love President Trump, because he's like nonsense. He is like, no nonsense, right? Yeah. So when I would watch the show in The Apprentice, he wanted certain things to be done, right? So I say that Elon Musk is like his, star apprentice. He's like amazing because we all wanted to make sure that we cleaned house. Clean house, our government, in so many ways, is so not good. Like when you go to the DMV, when you go to the, certain departments, they're so rude to you. And you wonder like, geez, where's the customer service? And it's because they know that it's a government job and they're not going to get fired, or it's going to take like a lot for them to be let go. Government means security. Right? You're going to be there for a very long time. So they forget why they're there, to serve the people. So Doge is uncovering where all this money has been going to, and the empty buildings where people were not going to work. I mean, that was like, wow. Imagine paying all the electricity, the light, the gas, so much. And then no one's there at the building. He's uncovering what we all wanted to know, what we all knew. So, I mean, I just love it. I think that, for him to come to appoint Billy Asalee, who is our new Attorney General, that's amazing, because he's going to be gathering information. Where did the money for the homeless go? Because California has spent so much money, because all the homeless wants to come here because California has great weather, right? They don't want to be in New York when it's like snowing and it's cold, and they don't have that many homeless shelters to go to. California has great weather. So that's why we get more homeless here. And I think it is important that we find out where the resources have really been going. I foresee that they're going to find out that a lot of the money that was for the homeless has been misused, has been sent to probably nothing to do with homeless. And I think that also we'll find out more about, the mentally ill. A lot of people don't want to accept the help when it comes to mental illness. And just like you were mentioning about the homes that somebody already reported that they wanted the money for their burn home, the same thing happens with mental illness. They see that somebody has insurance and they traffic them. Insurance traffic. Meaning that they want to get as much as they can from that insurance without caring about the individual. And perhaps that individual has problems with drugs or alcohol. And they say, oh, yeah, we'll help you, those treatment centers. And all they do is Zooms, 2 Zooms a day. And the rest, you're just there. So what is that person going to get out? Nothing. and their money and their insurance is being used, right? And once their insurance is being used, you cannot stay here anymore because your insurance is maxed out.
Right.
That happened to a 29-year-old gentleman that I know. He said he was homeless after that for 3.5 years. The good news is that he now has a job, and he helps those that are going through something like him. And he's married, and he has a baby.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, when he was telling me, I was all in tears because, those are like, 180 degrees shifts.
Yes.
So maybe one day you can invite him
Yes.
to come on over.
We'd love to hear his story.
Yeah. No, it's amazing to hear the stories because it is so gross how our government spends money like that. And it is something that we need to work on here in California because, I mean, like we were talking about earlier, we are such a big state. And I'm a firm believer that if whatever you do in California will definitely migrate to the rest of the United States because we are usually a sounding bell for a lot of the U.S. So, yeah, it definitely needs it here. But tell us about how you've been campaigning with Doge here in California.
Well, we were having our convention here in Sacramento, and you guys were there. So I wanted to make sure that we thank Elon Musk. It's like a thank you. He's getting so much hate, from the left and the cars being vandalizing and everything. So I decided to do T-shirts. You're wearing one. Tech support. And then we got buttons.
Yes, button.
We got buttons. Thanks to other friends of mine who sponsor them. So we wanted to show the love to Elon. And we took a lot of pictures. We know the support that we have for Doge is great. It's just that the TV media is not going to say that. But we see it. We see how people are happy, with what he's been doing. So that's what we did at the convention, and also supporting our friend Jack Guerrero. He was running for California Treasurer. So I said, Jack, you got to wear your Doge shirt, so that it goes with the treasurer type of job.
Yeah, with being able to clean out the GOP.
Well, I mean, we want transparency. Us a delegate. We're all delegates here, right?
Yes. So are you delegate?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
well,
a delegate.
both of us are delegates, and we want transparency.
There you go. Yeah.
We want to know where the money's spent at, right? Especially when we have so many candidates running, and they say, "Oh, we can only help certain seats."
Right.
Right. I think we had 4 seats, and we lost 3, and all the money went to those seats. And what about the rest of the seats that could have won? There's candidates that had about 45%. If they would have, somebody that donated to them, or if the California GOP would have looked a little closer, we would have more assemblymen, assemblywomen, or senators.
Yep, definitely more. Yeah.
Yeah, divide. I say we cannot. I'm like President Trump. You got to have diversify, and you have to multitask, right?
Yes.
So if you have a area in Congress that looks very promising, the person who's running for Congress can pull the other people that are running for Assembly or California Senate. They can help each other.
Right.
Just like what President Trump does with his rallies. And, that's what I expected of Steve Garvey. I love Steve Garvey. I was a fan when I was a little girl. I was like, love number 6. So when his campaign came, I was like, I really want to work for the campaign. And you know what? Never got called. I wanted to volunteer. Never got called to volunteer. And it was the easiest campaign because Steve Garvey could have helped us in Los Angeles because he was a Dodger. Generation X, which is me. We love baseball. We love Garvey. We know who he is. So if they would have taken, like I propose, let's take Garvey to community service events, type of rallies in LA. Okay, let's take him to Downey. Let's take him to Paramount. Let's take him to Echo Park. Let's take him to areas where the parents are going to come and say, we want to go hear what Steve Garvey has to say. While Steve Garvey's there, we have all the other candidates that are running for assembly or running for California Senate to introduce themselves and for, to show support. That's how we do it.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah. But I hope, Steve Garvey, if you're hearing me, know that I try to help you.
Have you worked on other campaigns besides Trump's campaign?
Yes, I helped Lanhin Chen, who was running for controller. I was his Hispanic chair in 2022. And I also helped Jack Guerrero. Also, I was, fundraising strategist, connecting him to different people all over California. And I think that helping those two campaigns is what really helped me to help President Trump, because I was kind of connected to a lot of different people from different areas. And one of the things that I, since you're young, right? I wish that somebody would have told me, or I had a mentor. All right. It's very difficult to find mentors in politics because everybody is very competitive. Okay. Very, very difficult to find a mentor. But if I was in your shoes, I would say, look at your gifts, find out what you're good at, so that you can work at it and be more successful. So one of the things that I learned, and it took me, I don't know, too many years, is to find out what I'm good at. And I'm a connector. Okay? So think of a triangle. So you want to connect the points. So, for example, if I find somebody, like today I brought Sarah. Sarah, it's watching our show. She has a show of her own, and she's connected to you now because you're young. So I wanted to make sure that I connected her to you guys, and that's the power of connecting. With Bienvenidos, I know that you guys wanted to be part of the inauguration, but it would be very hard for me to get you to events with President Trump because you had to volunteer and sign up and everything. But I said, wait a minute, I can get you guys to be reporters at the red carpet and Bienvenidos. So I called, Betty, and I said, Betty, can we help these young, kids? And they approved you guys. So it's like, the connecting, or like the movie that we went to see. And, it was a very, what was the name of the movie?
Simon Says.
You loved it, right? Simon?
Yeah.
We totally encourage everyone to watch Simon Says because it's a movie about youth, Hollywood.
Yeah. Yep.
Politics.
Culture, Christianity.
A Christian message. So, you got to find somebody to connect me to. Okay? Think, Evelyn would love to meet somebody because I'm usually the one doing the connecting.
Yeah.
So but that's my gift, and that's what I enjoy the most. I have a family that I connected to the CARE Act, and the CARE Act is a program that helps people that have schizophrenia, and they didn't know about CARE Act. I did the presentation. One family got helped already for the CARE Act. Then she got someone else to get the help. So now we have two families to get their significant, other or their kid help. And we have someone in Oakland that we're working on it. Do you know how rewarding it is to know that people are getting help through connections?
Yeah.
Information.
There you go.
True, yeah.
And, something that we were talking about earlier is that you do work with, I have your card right here, right? Hace la diferencia, right?
Hace la diferencia, make a difference.
And this one, you're the vice president, right? Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And why don't you talk about that real quick?
Well, that is exactly what I'm doing with that nonprofit, is letting others know about services that we have that perhaps they don't know about, and guiding them to the right direction. And maybe taking someone that is homeless out of the streets. Somebody that, someone gave up on, and we're helping them get back. But, we need the families. We need someone to advocate for them. And I think that the homeless issue is going to be a very hot topic right now, especially because of election year. but it shouldn't just be a topic because of election year. It should be a topic because as Christians that we are and caring people that we say we are, we should all be making a difference. So haz la diferencia.
Yeah.
Make a difference.
Yeah, there you go. And, it's, there was a question I had for you a little earlier, and I'm remembering it right now because she's actually is a potential for governor here that people are thinking, and that's Kamala, right? Earlier I was thinking because a lot of people will look at you and they say, okay, well, you're a woman. You're also a person who's an immigrant, person of color. Why wouldn't you have voted for Kamala? If she is somebody that's, you would suspect you'd be more willing to trust, I guess.
I think that we need to look at the candidates' qualifications and what they have done, and California is a mess. So why would we vote for her just because she's a woman? Okay? We cannot vote for someone that has not attained much. Or has not saved did she save California? She's from Northern California, San Francisco area. How does San Francisco look? We have people walking on the streets like zombies. Fentanyl, what it does to the spine. People are walking like all bent, over. The streets have feces. Yep. Business owners are closing their doors because the homeless are there and they're doing their, whatever they're doing in front of their businesses. It's not right.
Yep.
And that came from her area. So why would I want somebody to do that to the rest of California or the rest of the country? So I think that a lot of people need common sense, to make sure that this is not about just picking the person because she's a woman. It would be like wrong to do that. Right. You have to pick the candidate that is most qualified and can understand the issues that we have in California.
Yeah, we have to prevent Kamala from being in charge of California.
She was already kind of in charge by being a district attorney up north, and she messed it up.
Yeah.
So why are we going to go back, like the Bible says, don't go back to your vomit? Right?
Yeah. Back to Kamala.
Don't go back to Kamala. Okay? No matter how upset you are.
It's a great slogan.
No matter how upset you are because your party didn't win, you got to, this is, talking to Democrats here. Okay? No matter how upset you are because your party lost, you got to look at the facts. California has so much homeless people. California is so expensive. California, we have our gasoline is so much more expensive than other states. Why are we paying so much? Why are we paying Senator Weiner to come out with the most crazy assembly bills that are destroying the family? And those bills, like you say, come to California and then they go to other states. Why are we voting for someone like him, like Weiner? Why? I mean, parents, wake up. Why are you wanting to vote for somebody that is against parental rights? Why are we voting for people that are going to El Salvador to get out a member of the MS-13 to come back? Those people need to be taking care of us. If we live in their district, if you live in this district where Robert Garcia, in Long Beach area, I think it's Long Beach, Cerritos, I don't know the exact district, but he went to El Salvador to try to bring back the guy that is illegal immigrant, member of MS-13.
Yep.
He also did trafficking of children. Why are these representatives going to save him from being in jail? Why?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw AOC was also doing a rally. She was actually dancing to the music. She was so enthusiastic. But
Wasn't that Bernie Sanders?
It might have been, but it was also to support that one guy.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I have a friend who just went to the Bernie Sanders rally. It's like 80,000 people there. And, it's been such a fantastic hour with you. We are so, so grateful that you came down and joined us today. But before we wrap up, speaking of the youth, speaking of California, AOC, Bernie Sanders, what is your advice to Gen Z who's listening?
Get a job that you like, so that you don't quit so often. Find out what your gifts are. You can take a test really good, and find out what your gifts or what you enjoy doing the most, so that perhaps you not picking the wrong job, so you don't quit, and then all the business owners are upset at your generation because you're not keeping your jobs. Be customer service oriented. My daughter works in hospitality, and I always, told them, be nice. The customer is always right, and even if they're not, you can put it in a way, that you can still make them happy, but let him. So I would say be more customer service oriented. Know that it's not about you. We gotta be of service to others. I would say save money. I would say work for a company. Once you find out what your gifts are, work for a company that has a 401k. So you save, and they also help you with,
retirement.
With the retirement.
Yeah. My husband has that right now. Yeah.
Awesome.
He's 23, so he's taking your advice already.
That's great. Well, why don't you tell people where they can find you online?
I'm
on
Facebook, Evelyn Sky Jones. I'm also on X, Sky Patriot at X. And I'm on True Social as well. So I'll send you the information. If anybody wants to contact me and help with, the homeless project, or they want to get more information on how to help somebody that is crossing through obstacles, with mental illness. In my family, we had depression. My mom had depression when I was a little girl. So I saw it differently. And then, my kids has gotten a little bit of that. So, it's a fight.
Yeah.
So we are doing the best that we can. And I know that we're going to go ahead and tackle that and win.
Perfect.
Amen.
Yeah. It's amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thank you again. Yes, it's been wonderful.
Yes, and thank you so much for taking the drive out here, because I know it's a little long, especially in California traffic.
Well, thank you, guys.
Yeah. Well,
yes,
you know
absolutely.
what? And also thank you everyone for joining us and for sticking around if you did towards the very end. Make sure to once again, follow us on all of our social media platforms at 180 Shift, and have a good night.
Yes, and we are going to do another show. If you want to stay tuned, even though we're both very tired from our busy lives. But you can stay tuned, and you can also visit our website at 180shift.org.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.